Hello there. So, this week I want to talk about how I got into retro game collecting, basically. I gotta give a shout out to Gull, Payne. Um, he's been on this platform about as long as I have. Actually, I think he's been on here a little bit longer. He got a great gaming channel. He's kind of like me, has good variety on his channel. I'll have the link to his channel in the description. You can check it out. But he recently did a video where he talked about how he got into gaming and collecting, so I was like, that kind of gave me the idea for this video, but I decided to tweak it a bit. This isn't necessarily a response video, but it is where I kind of got the idea. So I wanted to talk more about how I got into retro gaming, or collecting, I should say. So, well, for starters, I'm somewhat of a hoarder. I still held on to all my old consoles and systems from over the years, from Game Boy, Game Boy Color, PS1, N64, Game Boy Advance, and GameCube. Which actually the Game Boy Color, and PS1 I no longer have because, well, the Game Boy and Game Boy Color I had in this old Game Boy case that I had since I was a kid. Which I got my Game Boy back in '92, and then I think I got my Game Boy Color 6 years later or something, but I had those in this Game Boy case along with a bunch of games, and I had left it at my mom's house, and I think she gave it away. But it wasn't a huge, big... The thing was, most of the games that were in there were ones that I was never really going to play again anyway. They were from when I was a kid. That were just... A lot of them really weren't that good. Fortunately, I had, other games that I do, still care about in another case. I had them in that, that classic trick where you put, your Game Boy games on, a card sheet and a binder. I had a bunch of them in there. Fortunately, one of them is, Toxic Crusaders. That one was spared, so to speak, because I had it in the binder, because I've talked about that in other videos. That game is rare and expensive. I bought it back when it was cheap. But yeah, that's what happened to my Game Boy and Game Boy Color. But it's whatever, let some other kid enjoy them or add them to the collection or whatever the case may be. And the PS1, a few years ago, I let my brother-in-law borrow it because he got, I think it was Final Fantasy VIII? It was either 8 or 9, and for some reason it wouldn't run on his PS2. So I was like, I'll let him borrow my PS1 to borrow it, and his son, one of my nephews, who was probably 2 years old at the time, he was going through that throwing stage, and he got his hands on it. So, yeah. And it was like, oh my god, we'll replace it. And I was like, nah, whatever, it's not a big deal. I don't really need it anymore, so to speak. All my PS1 games are compatible on my PS2, so... all that aside, it was around... It was in 2020. YouTube was something back in the late 2000s, YouTube was something I would go on every now and then, and then it wasn't really until 2012 that I really started using it more. And 2014 was when I started my channel, this channel right now. But yeah, it was 2012. Was when I really started watching it. And people obviously Angry Video Game Nerd and stuff, and it was Metal Jesus was another one, and it was and I'm sure I know a lot of people are like this. It's when you see people talking about these old retro games or playing these old retro games, reviewing them, whatever, and it's oh, now I kind of want to play that again. And of course, there's emulation and the there was the Wii Shop channel and then the Wii U Shop channel and stuff like that. But there was there's something about just taking the cartridge or the disc and putting it into that old system and holding the old controller and everything. So I was now I kind of want to get back into that. So my brother bought one, an NES. He still had a Super Nintendo from when we were kids. So yeah, there was this pawn shop that we used to go to all the time that had they sell a lot of old games and stuff, and we went there. It was my brother and our friend Mike and I went there, and I got I got an NES, which it came with the cords, 2 controllers, the zapper, and Super Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt. So, I bought that, along with 3 other games. It was, Dr. Mario, Little Mermaid, which, I've talked about in, video. I've talked about that in other videos before. That's actually a very good game, It's not what you'd think. better than other licensed games on the NES. You know, if you, yeah. And the other one was the first Ninja Turtles game, because that one I vaguely remember from when I was a kid, and it was like you're watching like the Angry Video Game Nerd review and stuff, and I was like, I don't know, I kind of want to play it again. Like, you know, I mean, yeah, it's not great, but it's not bad. It's like a guilty pleasure game, I guess you could say. So over time, and I remember there was a funny thing. There was a kid who worked there. Like, I think it was like a family-owned place, and it was this kid that worked there on the weekends. He was probably like 12, 13, and he would test the games to make sure they would work, which was kind of nice, because it was like, I remember my brother, it was actually that same time, I think, he wanted to buy Little Nemo for the NES, which, God, I remember, I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid. Not the Finding Nemo, Little Nemo, like, you know, the kid, like, on the flying bed. Yeah, I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid, back in, like, the probably, like, early 90s. Vaguely remember the NES game, but my brother said, like, I was like, oh, that's such a great game, and he was like, oh, I gotta buy that. So he wanted to buy it, but the kid, he couldn't get it to work. So my brother just, like, saved some money there, like, you know, because he couldn't get the game to work. One game he did buy there, I was like, oh, I think I need to buy Castlevania, the first Castlevania game. And it was funny, because he was so, like, enthusiastic about buying that game and stuff, and then literally the next day or so, he, like, texted me, he was like, oh my god, fuck Castlevania, because he couldn't beat, like, the third or fourth level. It was just, I just thought that was kind of funny. He was like, oh, I gotta get Castlevania, and then he's like, oh my god, screw this game, I can't beat it. But, yeah, you know, and then over time we go back there again and again, and I buy other games. Like, I remember I got Wizards and Warriors, trying to think of some of the other games ago, which that was a good game. I remember, because I don't think I ever played that as a kid, but I was up till like 2 in the morning one night trying to beat that. You know, I couldn't beat the last boss. That's a pretty good game, though. Just trying to think of some of the other, you know, and over the years I added more and more games to it. Plus, I still had like other games from when I was a kid, like, you know, I still had the original Mega Man for the NES and Tetris Attack for the Super Nintendo, because that was another one. At one point, I bought a Super Nintendo there, you know, which obviously came with, like, the cords and controller and everything. I think I bought one of the Simpsons games or something to go with it. And, you know, like, other games that I bought when I was, just because I was like, yeah, just to kind of have some variety. Like, I bought Rise of the Robots there, which obviously is not a very good game, but as I mentioned in my SNES collection video and other videos, you know, I like the music in that game. I'm trying to think what else I bought there. I bought a couple of SNES games while I was there, I forget, but, you know, and I bought some N64 games there before, like, I think Iggy's Wrecking Ball was one of them. That's not a bad game, it's just really weird. It's like a, yeah. Another place we went to was a flea market, and there was a number of people that worked there that sold, like, retro games and stuff, but there was one guy who kind of looked like a hippie. I know, I kind of look like one too. But, very nice guy. He sold, like, old games and, like, toys, like, play set, you know, action figure play sets and, like, you know, game magazines, all kinds of stuff, but very nice guy, very, like, down-to-earth, like, bubbly personality type of guy. He was really cool. And he was the type of guy that, let's say he was selling a copy of Secret Evermore, I'd bring that up because that's a very underrated game. You know, it's like, if you ever played the Secret of Mana games, you'd probably like Secret Evermore, which I think I mentioned that in my SNES collection video, but anyway, because, you know, I bring that up because it's like a battery save game. So let's say he was selling a copy of that. Prior to bringing it there, he would, like, take it apart, clean it up, and, like, you put in a new battery, and he would still give you, like, a decent price for it. That's the kind of guy he was. You know, I don't know if he's still there or not, because I haven't been there in years, but, you know, and obviously there's, like, other ways of buying games, like, you know, there's things like eBay and stuff, which I always check to see, like, you know, I always check the description, like, look at the item thoroughly, as thoroughly as I can, you know, from, like, the pictures and stuff, and I check, like, the seller's feedback and stuff. Like, you know, I don't just buy the first game I see. Um, yeah, but like, and it's like, you know, and obviously like all my other systems, I would add games to, like the N64, and the Game Boy Advance, etc. PS1 is another one. Yeah, and I still do it to this day, you know, and it's because I've talked about this in videos before. I think there's three types of collectors. There's the ones who buy games just for, you know, just as collective purposes, and then there's people who buy games solely to play, and then there's people who do kind of both, which is pretty much what I am. Like, for example, what the hell is that game called? Flintstone Surprise Dinosaurs Peak, which is one of the rare NES game, goes for like hundreds of dollars. Like, if I bought that game, I'm gonna play it. Like, if I spent hundreds of dollars on a game, I'm gonna play it. I'm not gonna just put it on a display case or something. But that's just me, you know. Obviously not everyone has to do that. But yeah, so that's just kind of how my story, how I got into retro gaming and stuff. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy your weekend and the rest of your day and all that jazz. See you later.